Your ego is killing your relationships before they even begin. Not because you are arrogant, but because you are fragile. Not because you think too highly of yourself, but because you have built your sense of self on the shakiest foundation possible: what other people think of you. And nowhere does this fragility show itself more clearly than in how you respond to women, desire, and rejection. If you want to build the inner fortress that the Stoics spoke of, stay with us. Subscribe to this channel where we strip away comfortable lies and face the hard truths that set men free. Epictetus once told his students that no one can hurt you without your consent. Your mind, he insisted, is the only thing that truly belongs to you. Everything else, including how a woman responds to you, is external and ultimately beyond your control. Yet we spend our lives giving away this power, handing our peace to anyone who can trigger our need for validation. A woman smiles at us and we feel invincible. She ignores us and we spiral into self-doubt. This is not strength. This is slavery. The Stoics had a term for this condition: being enslaved to externals. When your emotional state depends on variables you cannot control, you are not free. You are a puppet, and the strings are held by circumstances, by other people's moods, by the random fluctuations of attention and attraction. The Stoic path demands something different. It demands that you cut those strings, not through bitterness or withdrawal, but through understanding the true nature of desire and ego. Let us start with desire itself. What are you actually desiring when you desire a woman? Be honest. Strip away the romantic language and the socially acceptable answers. Are you desiring her specifically, or are you desiring what you imagine she will give you? Validation, proof of your worth, relief from loneliness, escape from the hard work of building yourself. Social status, the ending of your sexual frustration, the fantasy that someone else's presence will finally make you feel complete. This is where ego enters the equation. Your ego, in the psychological sense, is the constructed self-image you maintain to feel secure in the world. It is the story you tell yourself about who you are, what you deserve, where you rank among other men. And it is desperately insecure because it knows, on some level, that it is just a story. So it constantly seeks evidence that the story is true. It needs proof. It needs wins. It needs her yes to confirm that you are desirable, successful, masculine, enough. When she says no, your ego does not register this as simple incompatibility or her legitimate choice based on her own preferences and circumstances. Your ego registers this as evidence that the story is false, that you are not who you thought you were, that the carefully constructed image is crumbling. And so you suffer, not because of her no, but because of what your ego makes her no mean about you. The Stoics saw through this mechanism completely. Marcus Aurelius wrote that things do not touch the soul. They stand outside of us, inert, unchanging. All the turmoil happens in our interpretation. She rejects you. That is a fact, external and neutral. But your mind adds, and therefore I am unworthy, unlovable, less than other men, doomed to loneliness. None of that is in the rejection itself. All of that is your ego's interpretation, your ego's story about what this external event means about your internal worth. Here is the liberation. If you can see this mechanism operating, you can free yourself from it. Not immediately, not perfectly, but progressively. You can learn to observe the ego's reaction without being controlled by it. You can feel the sting of rejection without collapsing into the meaning your ego assigns to it. You can acknowledge disappointment without letting it become identity. But this requires practice. The Stoics were not philosophers who merely thought about virtue. They were practitioners who trained daily in seeing clearly and responding wisely. One of their core practices was distinguishing between preferred indifference and true goods. A preferred indifferent is something it is reasonable to prefer. but which does not determine your well-being or your character. Money is a preferred indifferent. Health is a preferred indifferent. And yes, reciprocated desire from a woman you are attracted to is a preferred indifferent. This does not mean you should not prefer it. Of course you prefer it. You are human, but it means you do not need it for your inner stability, your sense of worth, or your ability to live well. The only true goods, according to the Stoics, are virtues: wisdom, courage, justice, self-discipline. These are the only things that make you genuinely better or worse as a human being. Everything else is external, and while externals can be enjoyed when present, they cannot be depended upon for lasting peace. So when you desire a woman, can you hold that desire lightly? Can you prefer her yes without needing it? Can you pursue connection without making the outcome the measure of your value? This is the Stoic challenge, and it is far more difficult than it sounds because our entire culture tells us the opposite. We are told that success with women is the ultimate validation of masculine worth. We are shown images of status tied to sexual access. We are taught that a man without a woman is incomplete, unsuccessful, somehow less. The Stoics rejected all of this, not because they were against relationships or sexuality, but because they saw how this way of thinking enslaves men to forces beyond their control. Your worth is not determined by her yes. Your worth is determined by your character, by how you respond to circumstances, by whether you are becoming more wise, more courageous, more just, more disciplined. These are the only measures that matter, and these are completely within your control. Now let us talk about what it means to stay unmoved. This is perhaps the most misunderstood aspect of Stoic philosophy. When people hear that the Stoics taught apatheia, freedom from passion, they imagine cold, emotionless men who feel nothing and care about nothing. This is completely wrong. The Stoics felt deeply. They loved, they grieved, they experienced the full range of human emotion. But they were not controlled by emotion. They were not tossed around by every wave of feeling that arose. Staying unmoved does not mean feeling nothing. It means your core remains stable even when emotions arise. It means you can feel attraction without becoming desperate. You can feel disappointment without becoming bitter. You can feel desire without becoming obsessed. You can feel hurt without becoming vengeful. The emotions come and go like weather, but your inner citadel remains steady. How do you build this stability? Through practice and through philosophy rightly understood. The practice is this: every time a strong emotion arises in relation to a woman, you pause before reacting. You create space between stimulus and response. She does not text back. The emotion arises: anxiety, anger, hurt. You feel it, you acknowledge it, but you do not immediately act on it. You do not send the desperate follow-up text. You do not craft the passive-aggressive message. You do not spiral into catastrophizing. You simply feel the feeling and let it be there without giving it power over your choices. This pause is everything. In that pause lives your freedom. Viktor Frankl, who survived the concentration camps by applying Stoic principles, wrote that between stimulus and response there is a space, and in that space lies our power to choose our response, and in our response lies our growth and our freedom. Every interaction with a woman is an opportunity to practice this pause, to expand that space, to choose wisdom over reaction. The philosophy that supports this practice is the understanding that your ego is not your friend. Your ego wants to protect itself, to prove itself, to dominate the situation so it never has to feel vulnerable. But this protective mechanism creates more suffering than it prevents. When you operate from ego in relationships, everything becomes a test of your worth. Every interaction becomes a battle you need to win. Every woman becomes a judge whose verdict determines your value. The Stoic sees through this trap. He recognizes that he does not need to prove anything because there is nothing to prove. His worth is intrinsic, given, not earned through external validation. He can engage with women from a place of genuine interest rather than desperate need. He can be vulnerable without being weak because his core is not at stake. He can lose without being destroyed because he has not made winning the measure of his identity. If you are finding value in this, do not just watch and leave. Subscribe, because this work goes deep, and you need consistent reminders to break the patterns that have been controlling you. Seneca wrote to his friend Lucilius that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Nowhere is this more true than in our relationships with women. The actual interaction might be brief and relatively neutral. She says she needs space. That is the reality, but our imagination takes over. We create elaborate stories about what this means, why it is happening, what will happen next. We torture ourselves with scenarios that never occur. We project into a future that does not exist. And all of this suffering is self-created, generated by a mind that refuses to stay with what is actually happening in the present moment. The Stoic practice is to return, again and again, to what is actually real right now. Right now, she has asked for space. That is all you know. You do not know why. You do not know for how long. You do not know what it means for the future. And that is okay. You do not need to know. You can be with not knowing. You can take the next right action, which is to respect her request, maintain your dignity, and continue building your life regardless of what she decides. This is staying unmoved, not knowing the outcome and being okay with that, not controlling her response and being peaceful anyway, not getting the validation you want and remaining centered in your own sense of self. This is power. This is freedom. This is what the ego can never give you because the ego's entire existence depends on external confirmation. Let us examine what happens when ego and desire fuse in the context of women. You see a woman you find attractive. Immediately, desire arises. This is natural, biological, not a problem. But then ego gets involved. Ego starts calculating. Can I get her? What would it mean about me if I could? What would it mean if I could not? How does she compare to women my friends are with? What would other people think if they saw us together? Would this prove something I need to prove? Notice how quickly this moves away from genuine connection and into ego maintenance. You are no longer relating to an actual human being. You are relating to a symbol, a trophy, a validation device. And she senses this. Women have incredible intuition for when they are being seen as objects rather than subjects, when they are being used to prop up a man's ego rather than being appreciated for who they actually are. This is why ego-driven pursuit repels more than it attracts. The energy is wrong. There is a grasping quality, a neediness underneath the confidence, a desperation underneath the smooth words. She feels it even if she cannot articulate it, and it triggers her withdrawal, not because she is cruel, but because no one wants to be someone else's ego supply. The Stoic alternative is to engage with women from a place of genuine curiosity and appreciation rather than need. You find her interesting? Great. Engage. See what unfolds. But do not make the unfolding the test of your worth. Do not make her response the measure of your desirability. Do not make the outcome the proof of anything about you. Just engage honestly, present yourself authentically, and let reality reveal what is actually there rather than projecting what you need to be there. This requires something the ego resists: humility. Not the false humility that is actually inverted arrogance, but genuine humility, the accurate assessment of your place in the universe. You are one human being among billions. You have strengths and weaknesses. You have value and also limitations. Some women will be attracted to you and others will not, and this says very little about your objective worth. It says something about compatibility, chemistry, timing, personal preferences, 1,000 variables that have nothing to do with your ego's ranking system. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the world at the time, wrote daily reminders to himself about his own insignificance in the vastness of time and space. He did not do this to diminish himself, but to free himself from the tyranny of ego. When you truly understand how brief your life is, how small your concerns are in the cosmic scale, how little your personal dramas matter to the universe, you stop taking everything so personally. A woman's rejection becomes what it is: a moment of incompatibility, not a cosmic judgment on your worth. But here's what is interesting. When you stop needing validation, when you stop operating from ego, when you engage from genuine presence rather than desperate proving, you actually become more attractive. Not as a strategy, but as a natural consequence of being centered in yourself. People are drawn to those who are comfortable in their own skin, who do not need anything from them, who offer genuine engagement rather than hidden agendas. This is the paradox the Stoics understood. The more you need approval, the less you get it. The more you can live without it, the more it comes. But if you use this insight as a strategy, as another ego game, it fails. The only way it works is if you genuinely do the inner work of building stability that does not depend on external validation. You cannot fake this. You cannot pretend your way into it. You have to actually become the kind of person whose peace is not disturbed by whether she says yes or no. How do you become this person? Through daily practice, through meditation on what you control and what you do not, through voluntary discomfort that teaches you that you can survive what you fear, through service to something larger than your ego's needs, through honest examination of your motivations, through repeatedly catching yourself in ego reactions and choosing differently. The Stoics called this ascesis, training. Just as an athlete trains the body through repeated exercise, you train the mind through repeated right action. Every time you feel the pull to check if she texted and you resist, you are training. Every time you feel the urge to prove yourself and you relax instead, you are training. Every time you notice jealousy arising and you observe it without acting on it, you are training. Every small choice to respond from wisdom rather than ego is a repetition in your training. And over time, the training works. Your baseline shifts. Things that used to trigger you no longer have the same power. You develop what the Stoics called ataraxia, tranquility of mind. Not because nothing bothers you, but because you have learned to see disturbances clearly and choose your response wisely. You are no longer a puppet of your reactions. You are an agent, a chooser, free. There is a story about Epictetus that illustrates this teaching perfectly. Someone broke his lamp, and he simply noted that tomorrow he would buy a cheaper one. No drama, no rage, no sense that the universe was attacking him personally. Just a clear observation of what happened and a practical adjustment. This is the Stoic ideal applied to everything, including relationships. She breaks your heart. You feel the pain. You honor the grief. And then you adjust. Tomorrow you will protect your heart more wisely. Tomorrow you will choose differently. Tomorrow you will build with someone who wants to build with you. But you do not make her wrong for breaking your heart. You do not turn her into a villain to ease your ego. You simply recognize that this particular connection did not work, for whatever reasons, and you move forward. This is staying unmoved, not in the sense of feeling nothing, but in the sense of not being thrown off your path by what happens. Your path is virtue. Your path is becoming more wise, more disciplined, more courageous, more just. A woman can join you on that path or not. Her choice does not alter the path itself. You are walking it regardless. And this is ultimately what makes you attractive to the kind of woman worth having. Not that you need her, but that you have a path, a direction, a commitment to something larger than ego gratification. Women who are mature, who have done their own work, who are not looking for someone to fix them or validate them, are attracted to men who have this same quality. They want a partner, not a dependent. They want someone who is on their own journey and invites them to walk alongside, not someone who is waiting for them to provide direction, meaning, or worth. But this requires that you actually build something worth inviting someone into. You cannot just claim to be unmoved while secretly being empty. You cannot just pretend to have a path while aimlessly drifting. The Stoic work is real work. It demands that you identify what you value, what you stand for, what you are building with your life. It demands that you actually pursue wisdom through reading, reflection, and discussion. It demands that you develop courage by facing your fears. It demands that you practice justice by treating others fairly. It demands that you exercise self-discipline in all areas of your life. When you are doing this work genuinely, your relationship to women naturally changes. You stop seeing them as the goal and start seeing them as possible companions on the journey. You stop measuring your success by sexual conquests and start measuring it by character development. You stop feeling threatened by their independence and start appreciating it as a sign that they have also done their work. And here is the final insight. The Stoic way of staying unmoved is not about protecting yourself from hurt. You will hurt. You will feel pain when connections end. You will grieve when love is not reciprocated. But the hurt will not destroy you because your foundation is not in the connection. It is in your commitment to living well regardless of circumstances. Seneca wrote that a gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a person perfected without trials. Every rejection, every heartbreak, every moment of ego death is friction polishing your character. The question is whether you let the friction smooth you into wisdom or whether you resist it so hard that it breaks you. The Stoic stays unmoved by accepting the friction, by seeing it as necessary, by understanding that this is how we grow. He does not seek out suffering, but when it comes, he uses it. He asks, "What is this teaching me? Where is my ego still fragile? What am I still attached to that I need to release? How can this make me stronger, wiser, more compassionate?" This is active acceptance. This is turning every experience, pleasant or painful, into training for virtue. And when you do this consistently, something remarkable happens. You stop being so afraid. You stop needing to control outcomes because you trust your ability to handle whatever comes. You stop playing ego games because you no longer need the wins to feel okay. You become genuinely free, and from that freedom, you can love without grasping. You can desire without desperation. You can pursue without attachment to results. You can engage fully while remaining centered in yourself. This is the Stoic way with women, with ego, with desire. Not suppression, not indulgence, but clear-sighted engagement from a place of inner stability. So the question for you is this: are you ready to do the work? Are you ready to stop letting your ego run your relationships? Are you ready to build the inner fortress that cannot be shaken by external events? Are you ready to become the kind of man who stays unmoved not through coldness but through wisdom? If your answer is yes, then subscribe to this channel. This is not motivational fluff. This is the real work of transformation, drawn from 20 centuries of tested wisdom. Share this with men who need to hear it. And most importantly, take one insight from what you have heard today and apply it immediately. Notice your ego in action. Create the pause between stimulus and response. Question the stories you tell yourself about what things mean. This is how change happens, one conscious choice at a time. The journey is long, the work is hard, but there is no better use of your life than becoming free. The Stoics knew this. Now you know it too. What you do with this knowledge is up to you.